And the next step I'm going to take is putting the front support back on. This support, I call it a support frame. You can look up all these parts on Messic's parts catalog. It's online. You'll have to create an account. But this support frame sits up here and is held on by 4 bolts. And what it does, it holds the hood, and the engine cowling, or engine bonnet as Kubota calls it. So what we got, 4 bolts, 2 on each side. I'm gonna grab the tools here. What they got is a square head, and that's held by the frame, and a metric hex, this 15 millimeter nut. Interesting thing is this Stanley socket set does not have a 15 millimeter 3/8 inch drive. So let me show you here. That's what took me so long there. So our frame here, what we're going to do is we're going to stick it down in there, and the bolt goes from the inside and points out, and then these holes are square, and when you draw the nut down, it'll suck it up and hold it still for you so you can tighten it. So I'm going to hand tighten it with a wrench, or a ratchet in the socket, and I'll get back to you. So just to show you what I'm going to do, then I'll come back and show you when it's put together. This piece gets stuck down in there. There's a notch cut out for the muffler tailpipe. You not get these, that's my headlights there. So anyhow, it goes down on both sides. There's 2 nuts and bolts for each side. So I'm going to take care of that, tighten them up, and I'll get back to you. Okay, so I've got all 4 screws in, bolts, nuts, excuse me, for the support here, support frame. And again, this support is what the front cowling, the engine bonnet, secures to. This is and it's only held on, the bonnet wraps around the engine, and it's only held on by 2 kind of like wing nuts. They're knobs with screws. One, it's got a built-in nut welded to the frame, and then this bolt knob, I call it a wing nut, screws down, and it has a couple flat washers that spread the load across there's like a finger that goes there, and then that goes down and holds it tight to the frame. And then also the hood has a bracket here that mounts here that will be one of the last things we do to put it together. So I'm not going to work on the front. I'm going to keep the engine exposed until the back end's fully closed up. Yeah, the Fender set out of the box and set it on top of the box. And as you can see, it's covered with bubble wrap. The bubble wrap has a adhesive on it that holds it to the Fender set. And I'll take that off. It takes 2 hands, and then I'll go over, we'll look at this set of fenders. I moved it outside so I could put these side by side, as I don't have enough room in my garage to show this, but they're the same part, but wow, what a contrast in the color, how the original plastic faded. Now, my tractor didn't get bathed as often as I would like, but it's still, I don't know what you can do to keep it from fading. My tractor is garage kept. Now, of course, it was outside when it was at the dealership, and again, I don't know who owned my tractor before me and if it was garage kept when they owned it, but wow, what a difference. Can you see the difference? I'm trying not to get my shadow in the shot, but wow, it is night and day on that. But I'm gonna show you once again, in case you didn't see all the other videos that I demonstrated this in. You may have just want to come and look at part of my playlist. But the reason I bought a new Fender set, I saw another gentleman on YouTube. He repaired his rear fenders because of the cost. That Fender set is not cheap. But he took his fenders off and he used fiberglass. Then he repainted it, put it back together. Now I got to commend the man for the effort and putting the video out there. Hey, I was about to go and get me some fiberglass and do the same thing. Buy some Kubota orange paint and paint it up. But so early on, I ran into a stick. The stick came up and knocked a chunk out of the, knocked that chunk out of the fender. Okay, and subsequently, it's cracked. I don't know if you could see that or not. Around the fuel tank. Let me go this way so my shadow isn't in the shot. But it cracked there and broke. It's broken, but it's not broken out. Okay, and you know, can I repair it? Maybe, but this thing's going to be patched together. It's cracked right there, as you can see. There's a crack there. I believe it's got cracks in other locations. Not quite sure, but mainly I noticed it cracking around the fuel filter. Now, I could have probably gone another year, but it was nagging me, you know, and I wasn't satisfied with it. But what I'm impressed with is this thing has all of the decals included. So I didn't pay any extra for the decals. I mean, I'm sure I paid for them, but it was included in the purchase. All of the stickers, all the safety warnings are there. It tells you, hey, this is a diesel, low sulfur fuel, ultra low sulfur fuel only. Okay, it's a diesel. Don't put gasoline in there. You know, it was on the old one. But all of the stickers are there. The 4-wheel drive sticker on the side already. Now, you know, I'm not a big fan of putting stickers on, but hey, they're there. I'm not going to pull them off. So I'm done talking about this. The only thing I couldn't figure out how to get the power port, aka cigarette lighter. I don't smoke. This is how we get our DC power. Anyhow, I couldn't figure out how to remove it without breaking something. So I bought a new one. It doesn't come with the power port already. I got a brand new one to put in there. That one there is corroded inside. So I thought I would just go ahead and replace it while I was in the process. It's hard to get to the connector. So I'm going to put that power port in, and set this Fender set on. And in addition to this, the fenders, this kit also included these two pieces of metal and some mounting hardware. What do we have to do first? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is there is a part here, this part, that controls how high the cutting height of your mower deck. And it consists of this shaft that measures approximately 8 1/4 inches long. It consists of this thing. Those notches are what they click onto a thing below and control how far the deck drops when you lower the deck. So it's got that, this washer, and that nut. And I'm going to put them on and I'll be back. Okay, we're back. Okay, the last thing I said I was going to put on was the mower deck height adjustment knob, and it went on pretty easy. So what I did when I was working on this and I was getting underneath it, I didn't want this. This is the linkage that controls the height of the mower deck. So I strapped it with a couple of tie wraps so that I wouldn't bang my head on it. And when you pull this up in the highest position, it's higher than it normally can go when it's put together properly. And I had it disconnected back here. When you pull this up, the piece of metal that round thing rides on is all the way up and out of the way. And I think that made it easier putting it together. I could be wrong, but that's how I did it. Bungee strap this up or tie wrap it up, and then put the shaft down through. It can only go in one way, it's keyed. And then use a deep well socket with an extension. Put the nut in the socket, it's 15 millimeter. And it has a washer built into it, kinda. And you just put that up in there, get the thread started, and torque it tight. So that's all I did. Move it on to the next part. That there, that. So let's take a look at this real quick. This thing is held on. It's all one piece. So these are the grip bars that go on the side of the fender, the grip bars. And you have two bolts that go up in. I used a torque, what do you call it? I use one of these to break them loose. So don't know if you have to have it. All of the screws were relatively loose except for one, and it had a little bit of rust on it. All the other ones were pretty rust free. I'm going to put some anti-seize on there. Okay, so let's take a look at these real quick. And this is going to be the next part, maybe in another video. I'm going to break it down and then we'll put it on.